So Apple had a surprise announcement today where they dropped brand new M2 Pro and M2 Max processors, along with brand new MacBook Pros for 14 and 16-inch size, and a brand new Mac Mini running the M2 chip and the M2 Pro chip for the first time. The M2 Pro and the M2 Max are the obvious successors to the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. And they come with some nice spec updates, and they are pretty much exactly what we expected they would be. But let's talk about the processors, the MacBook Pros, and the Mac Mini, and then I'll tell you actually what I'm going to buy. So first up, we have the brand new chips that Apple announced today, the M2 Pro and the M2 Max. And just like with the M1 processors, they took the basic M1 package and they scaled it up to the Pro and the Max. And that's what they're doing this year. They took the M2 chip that they announced with the redesigned MacBook Air and the iPad Pro and built them up to be the Pro level chips we've been looking for. The M1 Pro comes with either a 10 or 12 core CPU and is up to 20% faster in performance compared to the M1 Pro. It also has a 16 or 19 core GPU, and that is up to 30% faster for graphics performance. The memory bus on the back end is the same 200 gigabits per second as was on the M1 Pro, and I don't know anyone who's complaining about the speed of the memory bus, so that should be just fine. Then there's the M2 Max, which comes just in the 12-core CPU option, which is about 20% faster than the CPU in the M1 Max. The most obvious benefit of the M2 Max is going to come from the GPUs, which you can get either 30 or 38 cores, which is up to 30% faster than the M2 Max. And just like the M2 Pro, the memory bus speed on the M2 Max did not increase or decrease. It's 400 gigabits per second, which is double that of the M2 Pro, which is double that of the M2, which is 100 gigabits per second. Both of the new processors are 5nm chips, and they both have billions more transistors than their previous versions. They both have a media engine built in, and of course the Max variant actually has 2, and they both come with a new 16-core neural engine. Overall, the M2 Pro and M2 Max chips look like a really good upgrade over the previous versions that came out in 2021. I mean, you can't really complain about a 20 or 30% increase in performance over the previous versions when that's only, less than 2 years old. Apple also announced the brand new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros containing the M2 Max and M2 Pro chips. Now, you would be hard-pressed to find a physical difference between the previous generation MacBook Pros and the newest version that was just announced. And that's not a bad thing. These laptops are essentially perfect, in my opinion. You're still gonna get that Liquid Retina XDR display that gets up to 1600 nits of brightness. You're gonna get that keyboard with a full function row. And yes, that does have to be stated as a feature because, that long period of time where we didn't have that. You're going to get that large trackpad. You're going to get 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. You're gonna get MagSafe. You're gonna get a headphone jack. And on this side, you're also going to get an SD card slot and HDMI. So on the outside, these computers are going to be exactly the same as the previous version. Now, there are a couple of changes on the inside, along with those M2 Pro and M2 Max chips, starting with the battery life. And the 16-inch model now gets up to 22 hours of battery life and up to 18 hours on the 14-inch model. Of course, that is for basic video playback, and a more realistic number is probably going to be the 15 hours for wireless web browsing and 12 hours on the 14-inch. Wi-Fi 6E is making an appearance in the newest MacBook Pros, but to use that, you're going to have to get a Wi-Fi 6E capable router. And according to my YouTube poll, most people either don't have it or don't even know what it is. So it's nice to have the latest and greatest in it, but you probably won't be able to get anything from it, along with Bluetooth 5.3, which I don't know what that does. One of the features of the new M2 Pro and M2 Max chips is the ability to use an 8K display. Now, that is going to limit the other displays that you can use. For example, with the M2 Pro display, you can get up to 2 external displays. However, if you want to use an 8K, you can only use that one 8K display or a 4K display at 240 Hz. Now, when it comes to the M2 Max chip, you can have 4 displays like you could before, but if you want an 8K display, you have to drop that down to 3, where you can have 2 6K resolution displays and 1 8K, or instead of the 8K, you can get a 4K resolution at up to 240 Hz. Now, if anybody out there knows of an application or a game for macOS that can take advantage of a 240 Hz display, let me know below. Now, surprisingly, the prices actually stayed the same on these new MacBook Pros. The 14-inch starts at $1999 for a 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU, and 16 gigabytes memory with 500 gigabytes of storage, and the 16-inch starts at $2499 for the 12-core CPU, 19-core GPU, 16 gigabytes of memory, and 512 gigabytes of storage. Now, if you do spec these like for like and get them both with the 12-core processor and same memory, same RAM, same storage, they're only going to be $200 difference. And that's pretty good. That's a $200 difference for a bigger display on the 16-inch model, along with bigger speakers and a bigger battery and a bigger trackpad. There's also the brand new Mac Mini running the M2 or M2 Pro, and that's a Pro chip in the Mac Mini for the first time. The casing is essentially unchanged, just like the MacBook Pros. However, if you do get the M2 Pro version of the Mac Mini, you will get 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the back instead of just 2. You can now run up to 3 displays on the new Mac Minis. However, if you want to run an 8K display, you can only run one 8K display and nothing else. And pretty surprising, the Mac Mini actually dropped its baseline price. So you can get a Mac Mini now for just $599 for the M2 with an 8-core CPU and 10-core GPU. But you can also spec that all the way up to an M2 Pro with up to 32 gigabytes of memory and up to 8 terabytes of storage. And then the math gets a little bit fuzzy with the Mac Mini when you start speccing up the Mac Mini compared to the Mac Studio. So probably more on that to come. So hit subscribe if you're interested, or down there, wherever it is. All right, so I'm gonna take it easy this round, and I'm going to limit what I'm going to be ordering. So I'm not going to be ordering a Mac Mini at this time. This could change. If you want me to, let me know in the comments below. But what I will be getting for sure is a new 14-inch MacBook Pro. I've had a lot of the M1 based MacBook Pros. I had, of course, the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M1. I've had the 14-inch, I've had the 16-inch, I've had M1 Max and M1 Pros. I've had 16, 32, and 64 gigabytes of memory. I've had 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte versions. I've had brand new and refurbished from Apple. I've gone all over the place. And what I had finally settled on was a refurbished 14-inch MacBook Pro. Now this is the M1 Max version, but the lower one, which is the 24-core GPU, lower one, Baby Max, is Baby Max a thing? So I've got my Baby Max 14-inch MacBook Pro with 32 gigabytes of memory and 1 terabyte of storage. And I don't need all that power. I just like to have that extra headroom. I don't ever want to hit any bottlenecks. And for what I do with video editing and my regular day job work, this is plenty of power for what I need. So we're going to be doing the same thing this time, and I'm going to get silver, of course, because silver is just the better color now. So I'm gonna start with the M2 Max version. I'm going to get the M2 Max with the 12-core CPU and 30-core GPU and the 16-core neural engine, 32 gigabytes of memory, and I'm going to upgrade to a 2 terabyte SSD because I need a little bit extra space for the local projects that I keep on my laptop. And of course, that all comes to the eye-watering price of $3,499. But that's okay, right? I'm going to lose at least 20% reselling this laptop, but I'll gain 20 to 30% in performance on the new version, so it evens out, I think. So what did you guys think of Apple's surprise announcement in January of all months? Let me know below. Also, if you're interested in what I do with the brand new M2 Max-based MacBook Pros, or you have questions, or you want me to test specific things, also let me know in the comments below, or you can hit me up on the social sites with, the links and whatnot. Hit subscribe if you want to see those videos, and I'll see you next time.